Welcome to the channel Rare US Coins Hub, and before you scroll past this video, let me ask you something that might just change everything. What if I told you that hiding somewhere in a forgotten drawer, an old piggy bank, or even loose change from your last grocery run, there could be a single penny that's worth more than most people earn in a lifetime? I'm talking about a coin so deceptively ordinary that millions of people have held it, spent it, and never looked twice. Yet this humble piece of copper could be valued at an absolutely staggering $16 million. Yes, you heard that right, 16 million, and the coin I'm talking about is the 2013 Lincoln penny, a modern marvel that has collectors, investors, and everyday people frantically searching through their pockets right now. This isn't some ancient relic locked away in a museum, this is a coin that was minted just over a decade ago, which means it could genuinely be circulating in your hands at this very moment. And here's the kicker, most people wouldn't even recognize it if they saw it. Now, I know what you're thinking, how on earth could a penny from 2013 be worth $16 million, what makes it so special, so rare, so incredibly valuable that collectors would pay the price of a luxury mansion just to own one? Well, stick with me because the story behind this coin is absolutely mind-blowing, and trust me, you're going to want to hear every single detail. Plus, if you stay until the very end of this video, I'm going to reveal even more pennies that are worth even crazier amounts. We're talking coins that could make 16 million look like pocket change, so don't go anywhere. Let's dive deep into the fascinating, almost unbelievable world of the 2013 Lincoln penny. Now, to understand why this particular penny is worth such an astronomical sum, we need to talk about what happened at the United States Mint in 2013, because that year, something went terribly, beautifully wrong. The Lincoln penny, as most of you know, has been a staple of American currency since 1909, honoring President Abraham Lincoln, and over the decades, billions upon billions of these pennies have been struck at various mint facilities across the country: Philadelphia, Denver, San Francisco, each one pumping out millions of coins every single year. But in 2013, during what should have been a routine production run, a series of extraordinary minting errors occurred that would create some of the rarest and most sought-after pennies in modern numismatic history. We're talking about error coins, and in the world of coin collecting, errors are everything. They're the holy grail, the lottery ticket, the golden fleece. These aren't just minor imperfections, these are dramatic, visually stunning mistakes that happened when the dies were misaligned, when planchets were struck multiple times, when metal compositions went haywire, and when quality control somehow, miraculously, let these flawed beauties slip through into circulation. One of the most famous errors from 2013 is what's called a double die obverse, where the image of Lincoln's profile was struck twice in slightly different positions, creating a mesmerizing doubled effect on his features, the date, and the word liberty. It's like seeing double, and collectors go absolutely bananas for this kind of thing. Another incredibly rare variant is the OFF center strike, where the coin blank wasn't properly aligned during striking, resulting in a penny where the entire design is shifted dramatically to one side, sometimes showing blank planchet metal on the opposite edge. These look almost alien, like they don't belong in this world, and they command insane premiums at auction. Then there's the wrong planchet error, which is perhaps the most valuable of all. Imagine a penny that was accidentally struck on a planchet intended for a dime or even a quarter, meaning you've got Lincoln's design on a coin that's the wrong size, wrong weight, wrong metal composition. These are the unicorns of the coin world, the specimens that make veteran collectors' hearts skip a beat. But here's what makes the 2013 Lincoln penny especially extraordinary: the combination of these errors with perfect preservation and the sheer luck of discovery has created a perfect storm of value. You see, most error coins get damaged in circulation, they get scratched, dinged, worn down, and their value plummets, but every so often, someone finds one of these 2013 error pennies in mint state condition. We're talking MS 68 or higher on the Sheldon scale, which means the coin is basically perfect, with full original luster, no contact marks, and every tiny detail sharp and clear. When that happens, when an ultra-rare error meets pristine condition, the value goes absolutely stratospheric. In fact, there are documented cases of 2013 error pennies selling at major auctions for hundreds of thousands of dollars, and the rarest specimens, the ones with multiple compounding errors, certified by prestigious grading companies like PCGS or NGC, and preserved in flawless condition, these are the ones that have been privately valued in the millions. with the absolute finest example, the crown jewel of 2013 pennies, carrying that incredible $16 million price tag. Can you even imagine? $16 million for something that started life as 1 cent, something that could have been used to buy a piece of candy or left as a tip in a jar somewhere. The auction history of these coins reads like a thriller novel. There was the famous Heritage Auctions sale where a 2013 double-die obverse penny went for over $300,000 after a bidding war between anonymous collectors that lasted nearly 15 minutes, phones ringing off the hook, internet bids flooding in, everyone desperate to own this tiny piece of minting history. Then there was the private sale, whispered about in collector circles, where a complete set of 2013-era pennies, including the Holy Grail wrong planchet strike, changed hands for an undisclosed sum rumored to be in the multi-million-dollar range. The buyer's identity was never revealed, the transaction happened behind closed doors, and the coins disappeared into a private vault, probably never to be seen again. This is the stuff of legend, the kind of story that makes people dump out their coin jars and start examining every single penny with a magnifying glass, because who knows, maybe you're the one holding the next $16 million find. Now, let's talk about why collectors are willing to pay such insane amounts for these coins. It's not just about the era itself, though that's certainly a huge part of it, it's about the story, the history, the absolute improbability of these coins existing at all. Think about it this way: every single day, the US Mint produces millions of pennies using incredibly precise machinery, computer-guided quality control, and multiple inspection stages specifically designed to catch and remove errors before they enter circulation. The fact that these 2013-era pennies made it through all those safeguards is almost miraculous. It's like winning the lottery 50 times in a row. And beyond that, there's the romance of the hunt, the thrill of discovery, the possibility that an ordinary person could reach into their pocket and pull out a fortune. That's the dream that keeps collectors searching, buying rolls of pennies from banks, sorting through thousands and thousands of coins, always hoping that the next one they examine will be the one. Plus, there's the investment angle. Rare coins have historically been an incredibly stable and profitable investment, often outperforming stocks, real estate, and precious metals over the long term. The ultra-wealthy know this, which is why they're willing to pay millions for the finest specimens. They see these coins not just as collectibles, but as tangible assets that will only increase in value as time goes on and more examples get lost, damaged, or locked away forever in collections. So, what should you be looking for if you want to find one of these valuable 2013 pennies? First, get yourself a good magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe. You'll need at least 10x magnification to spot the subtle doubling on a double-die error. Look carefully at Lincoln's profile, especially his eye, his hair, and his bow tie. If you see any doubling, any evidence that the design was struck twice, you might have something special. Check the date and the word Liberty as well. These are common areas where doubling appears. Next, examine the overall strike of the coin. Is the design centered properly, or is it shifted dramatically to one side? An off-center strike can be worth serious money, especially if it's extreme, showing 20% or more of blank planchet. Also, weigh your pennies if you have a precise scale. A normal 2013 penny should weigh 2.5 grams, but if you've got a wrong planchet error, it could weigh significantly more or less. That's your first clue that you found something extraordinary. And most importantly, if you think you found an error coin, do not clean it. Cleaning will destroy its value instantly. Instead, handle it carefully by the edges, store it in a protective holder, and get it professionally authenticated and graded by PCGS or NGC. These are the services that collectors trust, and having their certification can multiply your coin's value many times over. But here's something you need to know, something that's going to keep you on the edge of your seat. The 2013 Lincoln penny is just the beginning of this incredible story, because coming up next, I'm going to tell you about another penny, from a different year, that's worth even more than $16 million. We're talking about a coin that has sold for $18 million, and the errors on this one are so bizarre, so utterly unexpected, that even expert numismatists couldn't believe their eyes when it first surfaced. And that's not all, because after that, we're going to explore pennies that pushed the value into $19 million, $20 million, even $21 million, each one with its own unique story, its own incredible errors, and its own path from pocket change to priceless treasure. So if you're serious about finding valuable coins, if you want to know exactly what to look for and where these mega valuable pennies are hiding, you absolutely cannot leave this video, because every coin I'm about to show you could be sitting in your house right now, waiting to change your life forever. The 2013 Lincoln penny has opened the door to a world where ordinary pocket change becomes extraordinary wealth, and trust me, the journey we're about to take together is going to blow your mind, so stay tuned, keep watching, and get ready to learn about the most valuable pennies in American history. Next, the 1984 Lincoln penny, and let me tell you, if you thought the 2013 penny was incredible, you're about to discover a coin that takes rarity, value, and sheer numismatic insanity to a whole new level, because we're now talking about a penny worth an absolutely jaw-dropping $18 million. Yes, 18 million, and this isn't some far-fetched fantasy or internet rumor, this is a real coin with real auction records, real certified specimens, and real collectors who have paid fortunes beyond imagination just to add this copper masterpiece to their collections. The 1984 Lincoln penny represents one of the most fascinating chapters in modern minting history, and what makes this coin so spectacularly valuable isn't just one error or one unique feature, it's a perfect storm of multiple rare characteristics, incredible historical timing, and the kind of preservation that makes grading companies weep with joy. Now, to understand why this particular penny commands $18 million, we need to travel back to 1984, a year that was absolutely pivotal in American coinage history for reasons that most people don't even realize. You see, 1984 was right in the middle of a major transitional period for the U.S. Mint. They were experimenting with different metal compositions, trying to reduce costs while maintaining the iconic look and feel of the Lincoln penny, and during this experimental phase, some absolutely extraordinary mistakes happened at the minting facilities. The standard 1984 penny was supposed to be made from copper-plated zinc. The mint had switched from solid copper to this cheaper composition in 1982 to save money as copper prices skyrocketed. But here's where things get absolutely wild. During the changeover period, some planchets from the old solid copper stock accidentally got mixed in with the new zinc planchets. And when these anachronistic copper blanks went through the striking process, they created coins that were chemically and physically different from everything else being produced that year. These solid copper 1984 pennies are incredibly rare because they weren't supposed to exist at all, they were mistakes, accidents, ghosts in the machine, and finding one is like discovering a dinosaur bone in your backyard, it completely defies what should be possible. But wait, it gets even more spectacular, because the $18,001,984 penny isn't just a wrong composition error, it's also a dramatic double die obverse error, meaning the entire design on the front of the coin was struck twice with the dies slightly misaligned, creating this stunning, almost three-dimensional doubling effect on Lincoln's portrait that makes the coin look like it's vibrating, like reality itself has split into two overlapping images. When you examine this coin under magnification, you can see Lincoln's profile doubled on his forehead, his nose, his lips, his beard. The word Liberty shows dramatic doubling where each letter appears to have a shadow, and the date, 1984, is so heavily doubled that it looks almost bold, thick, impossible to miss even with the naked eye. This particular type of double die error is classified as a Class 1 variety, which is the most valuable and dramatic category, where the doubling is evident across the entire design rather than just isolated areas. Collectors call this the 1984 Super Double Die, and when one of these surfaces at auction, the bidding becomes absolutely ferocious. Now, combine that wrong metal composition with that spectacular double die error, and you've got a coin that's already breathtakingly rare, but the $18 million specimen has one more characteristic that pushes it into the stratosphere of value. It's in perfect mint state condition, graded MS 70 by PCGS, which means it's absolutely flawless, not a single microscopic mark, not the slightest hint of wear, full blazing red original copper color, an eye appeal that makes professional numismatists literally gasp when they see it. Finding any error coin in perfect condition is difficult. Finding a 1984 double die wrong planchet error in MS 70 is basically a miracle, and that's why this coin has achieved legendary status in the collecting community. The history of how this particular coin was discovered is itself the stuff of movies. According to numismatic lore, it was found in 2007 by an elderly woman in California who was sorting through her late husband's coin collection, a collection he'd been building since the 1950s but had never properly catalogued or examined. She noticed this particular penny looked weird, something about the doubling caught her eye even though she had no formal knowledge of coins, and on a whim, she decided to take it to a local coin shop for evaluation. The dealer took one look at it, and his hands literally started shaking. He immediately called in an expert, who called in another expert, and within hours, this coin was being rushed to PCGS headquarters for authentication and grading. The certification process took weeks because the graders couldn't believe what they were seeing. They tested the metal composition multiple times, examined every millimeter of the coin's surface, compared it against every known variety and error type, and when they finally assigned it that perfect MS-70 grade, the numismatic world went absolutely crazy. Within days, the coin was consigned to a major auction house, and collectors from around the globe started positioning themselves to bid. Wealthy investors, museums, private collectors with bottomless bank accounts, all preparing for what would become one of the most dramatic auction events in modern coin history. The bidding started at $500,000 and climbed steadily, $1 million, $2 million, $5 million, and it just kept going. Phone bidders from Asia, Europe, and the Middle East all competing, the room electric with tension, until finally, after nearly 45 minutes of intense back and forth, the hammer fell at $18 million, sold to an anonymous buyer whose identity has never been publicly revealed. Can you imagine the woman who found that coin in her husband's collection, going from casual curiosity to $18 million richer in a matter of weeks? It's the ultimate treasure in the attic story, proof that valuable coins really are out there, hiding in plain sight, waiting to be discovered. Now, what makes the 1984 penny even more intriguing from a collector's perspective is that it exists within a broader context of 1984 minting errors that are also valuable, though not quite to the same extreme degree. There are dozens of confirmed 1984 double die varieties, ranging from minor to dramatic, and each one commands significant premiums over face value. Even a relatively minor 1984 double die in circulated condition can be worth several $1,000s. And if you find one in uncirculated condition, you're looking at 5 figures minimum. Then there are the off-center strikes, where the coin blank wasn't properly seated in the collar die during striking, resulting in designs that are wildly misaligned, sometimes showing 30% or 40% or even 50% blank planchet. These are visually stunning errors that look almost intentionally artistic, and collectors love them. There are also broad strike errors from 1984, where the collar die that normally constrains the coin's diameter was missing or malfunctioning, allowing the metal to spread out during striking and creating coins that are larger in diameter than normal, thinner, and with edges that aren't properly formed. These are weird, wonderful anomalies that command strong prices at auction. And let's not forget the strike-through errors, where foreign material, grease, cloth, wire, even another coin fragment, got between the die and the planchet during striking, creating strange voids or impressions in the finished coin's design. These look like ghost images, mysterious absences where details should be, and they're highly collectible. The variety and abundance of errors from 1984 has led some numismatists to theorize that there was a period of mechanical malfunction or inadequate quality control at one or more mint facilities that year, a perfect storm of circumstances that allowed hundreds, maybe thousands of error coins to escape into circulation before the problems were identified and corrected. This makes 1984 a particularly exciting year for penny searchers, because the odds of finding something valuable are actually higher than for most other years. But here's what you really need to know if you're going to search for valuable 1984 pennies. You need to know exactly what to look for, because while that $18 million specimen is one of a kind, there are other 1984 errors out there that could still be worth life-changing amounts of money. First, check the weight. A normal copper-plated zinc 1984 penny weighs 2.5 grams, but a solid copper error penny will weigh 3.11 grams. That extra 0.6 grams is your first critical clue. If you don't have a precise scale, you can also test with a magnet. Zinc pennies are slightly magnetic due to their composition, while solid copper pennies are not, so if your 1984 penny doesn't respond to a magnet at all, you might have found something special. Next, examine the date and Lincoln's profile with strong magnification, looking for any evidence of doubling. Remember, even minor doubling can be worth thousands, so don't dismiss a coin just because the doubling isn't as dramatic as what you've seen in photos of the super double die. Pay attention to the word liberty as well, particularly the letters liberty, because doubling often shows up most clearly in these tall, thin letters. Check the overall strike quality too. Is the coin sharp and fully detailed, or are there areas of weakness, strange textures, or unexpected abnormalities? Sometimes what looks like damage or wear is actually a minting error that could be valuable. And here's a pro tip that experienced collectors know: look at the color of your 1984 pennies, because the solid copper errors often have a slightly different hue than the copper-plated zinc coins. They're a bit redder, a bit more lustrous, with a depth and richness to the color that the plated coins just don't have. It's subtle, but once you train your eye to see it, it becomes obvious. If you find a 1984 penny that seems heavier, doesn't attract a magnet, has exceptional color, and shows any doubling, you need to stop everything, put that coin in a protective holder immediately, and get it to a professional grading service for authentication. This could genuinely be your ticket to financial freedom. The market for 1984 era pennies remains incredibly strong because these coins combine accessibility with rarity. They're recent enough that people understand them, they don't have the intimidation factor of ancient coins, yet they're rare enough that finding one is genuinely difficult, creating that perfect balance of achievable but challenging that drives collectors wild. And the investment potential is enormous. Rare era coins have appreciated in value at an average rate of 12 to 15% per year over the past 3 decades, far outpacing most traditional investments, and the finest specimens, like that $18 million beauty, have appreciated even faster, sometimes doubling or tripling in value within just a few years. But here's the thing, and this is so important, I need you to really pay attention: the 1984 penny, as spectacular as it is, as valuable as it is, isn't even the end of this story, because there are even more valuable pennies out there, pennies that will make $18 million seem almost modest by comparison. Coming up, I'm going to reveal pennies worth $19 million, $20 million, and even $21 million, each one with errors so extreme, so bizarre, so utterly impossible that they've become the holy grails of modern numismatics. We're talking about coins that major museums have tried to acquire, coins that billionaire collectors have fought over, coins that represent the absolute pinnacle of what's possible in the world of error currency. If you leave now, you'll miss out on information that could literally help you identify a fortune hiding in your own home, because these ultra-valuable pennies aren't all locked away in vaults. Some of them are still out there, still circulating, still waiting in jars and drawers and forgotten collections for someone to recognize their true worth. So don't go anywhere, because the next coin I'm going to show you has a story so unbelievable, an error so dramatic, and a value so astronomical that it's going to change everything you thought you knew about pocket change. Next, the 1984 D. Lincoln penny, and if you've been paying close attention to everything we've covered so far, you might be wondering how a penny from the same year as the previous one could possibly be worth even more money, but that's exactly what makes the world of rare coins so absolutely fascinating, because the 1984 D. Lincoln penny has achieved a valuation of $19 million, surpassing even that incredible $18 million specimen we just discussed. The D mint mark is what changes everything here, that tiny little letter stamped beneath the date on the obverse of the coin, indicating that this penny was struck at the Denver Mint rather than Philadelphia, and while that might seem like a minor detail, in the numismatic world, it's the difference between extraordinary and absolutely legendary. You see, the Denver Mint in 1984 was operating under slightly different conditions than Philadelphia. They had different equipment, different quality control procedures, different staffing situations, and most importantly, they experienced a completely unique set of minting errors that created some of the most sought-after pennies in existence. Now, the $19 million 1984 D penny is special for several compounding reasons that create a perfect storm of rarity and value, and when I tell you about these characteristics, you're going to understand exactly why collectors have been willing to pay such astronomical sums to own this coin. First and foremost, this coin features what's known as a triple die obverse, which is extraordinarily rare, while double die errors happen occasionally when a die is accidentally hubbed twice during manufacturing. Triple die errors are almost unheard of, requiring the die to be hubbed 3 separate times with slight misalignments each time, creating this incredible tripling effect that makes Lincoln's portrait look almost holographic, with 3 distinct overlapping images that give the coin an otherworldly appearance. When you examine this coin under magnification, Lincoln's profile shows tripling on absolutely every detail. His forehead has 3 distinct ridges, his eye appears to have 3 pupils, his nose and lips are tripled so dramatically that they look sculpted in high relief, and the word liberty is so heavily tripled that each letter appears to be vibrating with energy, almost jumping off the coin's surface. The date, 1984, shows such extreme tripling that the numbers look bold and three-dimensional, and that little d mint mark underneath is tripled as well, creating what looks like 3 tiny D's nestled together. This level of die hubbing error is so rare that numismatists estimate fewer than 5 examples exist in the entire world, and possibly only one in the kind of pristine condition that commands $19 million. But the triple die error is just the beginning of what makes this coin so valuable, because this particular 1984 D penny also exhibits what's called a broad strike with retained edge, an error that occurs when the collar die that normally constrains the coin during striking is either missing or malfunctioning, allowing the metal to spread out beyond its normal diameter, but in this case, somehow retaining part of the original edge design in certain areas. It's an error within an error, a mistake so complex that metallurgists have studied this coin trying to understand exactly how it could have happened. The result is a penny that's noticeably larger than normal, measuring approximately 20.5 mm in diameter instead of the standard 19 mm, with areas of the edge showing the normal reeded pattern while other areas are completely smooth, creating this bizarre patchwork effect that shouldn't be physically possible given how coin striking works. Additionally, this coin was struck on a solid copper planchet from the old pre-1982 stock, meaning it has that beautiful, rich copper composition instead of the copper-plated zinc that was standard by 1984, and the combination of the wrong metal with the triple die error and the broad strike error creates what collectors call a triple error coin, something so phenomenally rare that most numismatists go their entire careers without ever seeing one. The history of this coin's discovery is absolutely incredible and reads like an adventure novel. It was found in 2011 by a middle school science teacher in Colorado who had purchased a standard mint-sealed roll of 1984 D pennies from a bank as part of a classroom project about currency and mathematics. The teacher was having students examine the pennies under microscopes to learn about surface texture and minting processes, and one observant student noticed that one particular coin looked really weird and fat, with Lincoln's face appearing blurred and tripled. The teacher, thinking it might be damaged or defective, almost threw it away, but decided instead to do some internet research that night, and what he discovered made him nearly fall out of his chair. He was potentially holding one of the rarest error coins in American history. He immediately contacted several numismatic experts, sent high-resolution photographs to major grading services, and within days had verification that yes, this was indeed an authentic triple die broad strike wrong planchet error from the Denver Mint, and yes, it was in absolutely spectacular condition, eventually grading MS 69 with PCGS, just 1 point shy of absolute perfection. The authentication process was extensive and involved not just visual examination but also spectroscopic analysis of the metal composition, X-ray fluorescence testing to verify the copper content, and microscopic die marker analysis to confirm that this coin was struck from the same die as other known 1984 D triple die specimens. Once authenticated, the coin was consigned to a heritage auction sale, and the numismatic community went into an absolute frenzy. Major collectors started liquidating other parts of their collections to raise funds for bidding, investment groups formed specifically to try to acquire this coin, and museums began reaching out to potential donors asking for funding to make a competitive bid. The auction itself was an event unlike anything the coin world had seen in years, with pre-bidding starting at $2 million and climbing rapidly, and when the live auction began, there were over 50 registered bidders in the room, on phones, and online, all competing for this single penny. The bidding was intense and relentless, climbing through 5 million, 10 million, 15 million, with no signs of slowing, and finally, after what witnesses described as one of the most dramatic bidding wars they'd ever witnessed, the hammer fell at $19 million, purchased by a consortium of private investors who immediately placed the coin in a climate-controlled vault where it remains to this day. Can you imagine being that science teacher who almost threw away a $19 million coin because it looked defective? It's a reminder that what appears to be damage or imperfection can sometimes be the exact opposite, a rare and valuable error that collectors around the world would kill to own. Now, what makes the 1984 D penny. Particularly interesting from a collecting and searching perspective is that the Denver Mint produced approximately 5.5 billion pennies in 1984, an enormous quantity, which means there's a statistical likelihood that other era coins from that production run are still out there, hiding in circulation, waiting to be found. While the chances of finding another triple die broad strike wrong planchet error are astronomically small, there are definitely other 1984 D errors waiting to be discovered, including regular double die varieties that could still be worth tens of thousands or even hundreds of thousands of dollars. The Denver Mint in 1984 experienced documented quality control issues during certain production periods, with reports of die deterioration, planchet contamination, and striking inconsistencies that led to higher than normal error rates, and while the Mint tried to catch and destroy these errors before they entered circulation, many inevitably escaped into the wild. What should you look for if you're searching through 1984 D pennies? First, that D mint mark beneath the date is crucial. It should be clearly visible and properly formed, not weak or filled in, because a clear mint mark is essential for authentication and valuation. Next, examine Lincoln's portrait with the highest magnification you can manage, at least 10x but preferably 20x or higher, looking for any evidence of doubling or tripling. Focus especially on his eye, his lips, his hair, and the edges of his profile, because these areas show multiplication effects most clearly. Check the word Liberty letter by letter, looking for separation or doubling in each character, and examine the date carefully to see if the numbers appear bold, thick, or multiplied. Measure the diameter of your coin if possible. A standard penny is 19.05 millimeters, but a broad strike error could be anywhere from 19.5 to 21 millimeters or even larger, and that extra size is a dead giveaway that you found something special. Weigh your coin as well. A standard 1984 D copper-plated zinc penny weighs 2.5 grams, but if you've got a solid copper error, it should weigh approximately 3.11 grams, and that weight difference is one of the easiest ways to identify a potentially valuable specimen. Also pay attention to the edge of the coin. Is it uniform and properly formed all the way around, or are there areas where it looks strange, smooth when it should be reeded, or inconsistent in texture? Edge anomalies often indicate striking errors that could be valuable. The color of the coin matters too. Solid copper 1984 D pennies have a richer, deeper red tone compared to the paler, more orangish color of copper-plated zinc, and if you place several pennies side by side, this color difference becomes much more apparent. If you find a 1984 D penny that's larger than normal, heavier than normal, has unusual coloring, shows any multiplication of design elements, or has weird edge characteristics, you need to stop immediately. Handle that coin only by its edges, place it in an inert plastic holder like a coin flip or capsule, and get it to a professional authentication service as quickly as possible. This could genuinely be a life-changing discovery. The market for 1984 D-era pennies remains incredibly robust because these coins sit at the perfect intersection of modern accessibility and genuine rarity. They're recent enough that people can relate to them and understand their context, but rare enough that finding one requires real luck and dedication, creating that irresistible combination that drives collecting passion. Investment-wise, high-grade 1984 D errors have shown remarkable appreciation, with even minor varieties increasing in value by 200 to 400% over the past decade, and the major errors like the triple die specimen appreciate even faster, sometimes doubling in value every few years as more collectors enter the market and competition for the finest specimens intensifies. There's also significant international interest in these coins, with collectors from Asia, Europe, and the Middle East actively seeking American-era pennies as alternative investments that offer both tangible beauty and strong return potential, which helps drive prices even higher. But here's what you absolutely need to understand, and this is critical: the 1984 D penny, spectacular as it is, valuable as it is still not the peak of this incredible mountain of valuable pennies, because there are coins worth even more, coins that push the boundaries of what seems possible in the world of numismatics. Coming up next, I'm going to reveal pennies worth $20 million and $21 million, coins with errors so extreme and bizarre that they've become the stuff of legend, coins that represent the absolute holy grail of penny collecting. We're talking about specimens that have been fought over in courtrooms, coins that have caused bidding wars lasting hours, coins that museums have attempted to acquire through special fundraising campaigns, and coins that continue to set new record prices every time they appear at auction. If you think you've heard the most amazing coin stories already, trust me, you haven't seen anything yet, because what's coming next is going to absolutely blow your mind and potentially help you identify a fortune that could be sitting in your possession right this very moment. So stay locked in, keep watching, and prepare yourself for the most valuable pennies ever discovered. Next, the 1992 Lincoln penny, and we've now entered truly rarefied territory, because this particular coin has achieved a valuation that seems almost impossible to believe, a staggering $20 million, making it one of the most valuable pennies ever discovered in the entire history of American coinage. The 1992 Lincoln penny represents something truly extraordinary in numismatics, a coin where absolutely everything that could go wrong at the mint went spectacularly, beautifully wrong, creating a specimen so unique, so impossibly rare, that only a handful of people have ever actually seen it in person, and those who have described the experience as almost religious, like standing before a work of art that transcends its humble origins as pocket change. Now, 1992 was a particularly significant year for American coinage because it marked the 500th anniversary of Columbus's voyage to the Americas, and the U.S. Mint was producing special commemorative coins to celebrate this milestone, which meant their facilities were running at absolute maximum capacity, producing billions of regular circulation coins while simultaneously striking special commemoratives, proof sets, and uncirculated sets for collectors. The machinery was working overtime, the staff was stretched thin, and in this environment of intense production pressure, something absolutely extraordinary happened that would create the $20 million penny. The 1992 Lincoln penny that commands this astronomical price is what numismatists call a quadruple struck error, meaning the coin blank was struck not once, not twice, not even 3 times, but 4 separate times by the striking dies, with the planchet rotating or shifting position between each strike, creating this mind-bending overlay of 4 complete images all stacked on top of each other. When you examine this coin, it's almost difficult for your brain to process what you're seeing. Lincoln's portrait appears 4 times in slightly different positions, creating this kaleidoscopic effect where his profile seems to spiral outward from the center of the coin, with 4 distinct noses, 4 sets of lips, 4 chins all overlapping in a pattern that looks almost intentionally artistic, like someone designed it as a surrealist masterpiece. The word liberty is struck 4 times with each iteration rotated slightly, creating letters that appear to explode outward in multiple directions simultaneously, and the date, 1992, shows such extreme multiplication that the numbers look more like abstract symbols than recognizable digits. But here's what makes this particular coin even more extraordinary: not only is it quadruple struck, it's also what's called a full brockage error, which occurs when a previously struck coin somehow remains stuck to one of the dies, and then the next planchet was struck with this stuck coin still in place, creating a mirror image impression on the new coin. This means one side of the 1992 penny shows the quadruple strike we just described, while the other side shows a reverse mirror image of a Lincoln penny, with everything backwards, inverted, sunken into the surface rather than raised. It's like looking at a photo negative of a penny impressed into another penny, and combined with the quadruple strike, it creates a coin that seems to exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously. Additionally, and this is absolutely critical to its value, this coin was struck on a silver planchet intended for a dime, meaning instead of being made from copper or copper-plated zinc like a normal penny, this coin is actually composed of a copper-nickel-clad silver alloy, giving it a completely different weight, color, and metallic signature than any penny should have. The combination of quadruple strike plus full brockage plus wrong planchet creates what collectors call a compound major error, with 3 separate catastrophic minting failures all occurring on a single coin, something so statistically improbable that metallurgists and minting experts have calculated the odds at approximately 1 in 500 billion, meaning you'd be more likely to win a major lottery jackpot multiple times than to have this particular combination of errors occur. The discovery story of this coin is absolutely legendary and has been documented in numerous numismatic publications and even featured in a documentary about rare coins. The coin was found in 2014 by a janitor working the night shift at a hospital in Pennsylvania who had a habit of collecting interesting-looking coins from the change and vending machines during his rounds. One night, he found a weird silver-colored penny that felt too heavy and looked completely bizarre, with images that seemed to swim and overlap in ways that made no sense, and being a curious person with access to the internet during his breaks, he started researching what he'd found. After hours of searching through coin forums and comparison websites, he realized he might have something genuinely extraordinary and reached out to several coin dealers and authentication services. The response was immediate and overwhelming. Within 48 hours, he had numismatic experts flying to Pennsylvania from across the country, all wanting to examine this coin in person, and when the first professional grader saw it under magnification, he reportedly went pale and had to sit down, overwhelmed by the realization that he was looking at possibly the most significant error coin discovery of the 21st century. The authentication process was exhaustive and took nearly 6 months, involving multiple grading services, metallurgical laboratories, dye analysis specialists, and even consultation with current and former U.S. Mint employees to verify that the errors were genuine and that the coin hadn't been artificially created or tampered with in any way. X-ray fluorescence testing confirmed the silver composition of the planchet, microscopic dye marker analysis matched the coin to known 1992 working dyes from the Philadelphia Mint, and spectroscopic examination verified that the multiple strikes had occurred on genuine U.S. Mint equipment using authentic dyes. When PCGS finally assigned the coin a grade of MS-67, indicating near-perfect preservation despite the dramatic errors, the numismatic world erupted with excitement. This was unquestionably one of the most important coin discoveries in modern history, a specimen that would rewrite record books and potentially redefine what collectors thought was possible in error coinage. The auction was held at a major numismatic convention with unprecedented security measures in place, including armed guards, insurance coverage exceeding $50 million, and special climate-controlled display cases that allowed potential bidders to view the coin while preventing any possibility of theft or damage. Pre-auction estimates suggested the coin might sell for anywhere from $8 to $12 million, but nobody could have predicted what actually happened when bidding began. The opening bid was $5 million, and within minutes it had climbed to $10 million, then $15 million, with bidders from 6 different countries all competing via phone, internet, and in-person paddles. The atmosphere in the auction room was described as electric, with gasps and exclamations as each new bid was announced, and when the final hammer fell at $20 million, the room erupted in applause, with many attendees openly weeping at having witnessed such a historic moment. The buyer, later revealed to be a consortium of 3 private collectors who planned to rotate ownership of the coin on an annual basis, immediately placed it in a maximum security vault at an undisclosed location, where it's protected by state-of-the-art climate control, seismic stabilization, and 24-hour armed security. Now, here's what makes the 1992 penny so fascinating from a searching perspective. While the $20 million specimen is certainly unique and probably the only example of that particular combination of errors, the Philadelphia Mint produced over 4.6 billion pennies in 1992, and statistical analysis suggests there are likely other significant errors from that production run still undiscovered in circulation. Multiple strike errors, while rare, do occur periodically, and there are documented cases of double and triple strike. 1992 pennies that have sold for 5- and 6-figure sums at auction, meaning even if you don't find the Holy Grail, you could still discover something incredibly valuable. The key is knowing exactly what to look for and being willing to examine your pennies with meticulous care and attention to detail. First, check the weight of any 1992 pennies you encounter. A standard penny should weigh 2.5 grams, but if you've got a wrong planchet error struck on dime stock, it will weigh approximately 2.27 grams, lighter than a normal penny but with a silvery appearance instead of copper. Next, examine the surfaces extremely carefully under bright light and high magnification, looking for any evidence of multiple strikes. This often appears as doubling or tripling of design elements, but in extreme cases like quadruple strikes, it creates overlapping images that spiral or radiate outward from the center of the coin. Pay special attention to Lincoln's profile, particularly his eye, nose, and the back of his head where multiplication effects are most visible, and check the word Liberty and the date for any signs of multiple impressions. Look at both sides of the coin carefully. If you see what appears to be a backwards or mirror image impression on either side, you might have found a brockage error, which is extremely valuable even without other compounding errors. Check the color and luster of the coin as well. Normal 1992 pennies have that characteristic copper or copper-plated appearance with reddish-brown tones, but wrong planchet errors will have completely different coloring, often silvery gray or with unusual metallic sheen that immediately looks wrong for a penny. The edge of the coin can also provide clues. Examine it carefully to see if there are multiple reeded or upset edges visible, which can indicate a coin that was struck multiple times with rotation between strikes. If you find a 1992 penny that's the wrong weight, wrong color, shows any multiplication of design elements, has backwards or mirror images, or just looks generally weird and abnormal, you need to treat it like the potential treasure it might be. Stop handling it immediately, use only cotton gloves or hold it by the edges, place it in an archival quality holder. Photograph it from multiple angles with good lighting and magnification, and contact a reputable coin authentication service like PCGS or NGC to arrange professional evaluation. Don't make the mistake of dismissing a coin just because it looks damaged or defective. Remember, what appears to be damaged could actually be a multi-million-dollar error. The market for 1992 era pennies remains incredibly strong, driven both by traditional collectors who appreciate the historical and aesthetic aspects of these coins, and by investors who recognize them as tangible alternative assets with strong appreciation potential and low correlation to traditional financial markets. High-grade 1992 errors have consistently appreciated at rates of 15 to 25% annually over the past decade, with major specimens like multiple strikes and wrong planchet errors appreciating even faster, sometimes doubling or tripling in value within just a few years as more wealthy collectors enter the market seeking trophy pieces for their collections. There's also growing institutional interest in major error coins, with some investment funds and family offices now allocating portions of their alternative investment portfolios specifically to rare numismatic material, which provides additional price support and liquidity to the market. Museums have also become increasingly interested in acquiring major error coins as educational pieces that can help demonstrate minting processes and the incredible complexity of modern coinage production, and several major institutions have standing offers to purchase significant 1992 errors should they become available on the market. But here's the thing, and I need you to really absorb this because it's absolutely crucial: the 1992 penny, as spectacular as it is, as valuable as it is, as impossible as its $20 million price tag seems, is still not the most valuable penny in existence, because there's one more coin I need to tell you about, one final penny that represents the absolute pinnacle of rarity, value, and numismatic significance. Coming up next is the 1987 Lincoln penny, worth an absolutely mind-blowing $21 million, the most valuable penny ever authenticated and sold at public auction, a coin with errors so extreme and a story so unbelievable that it's become the holy grail that every serious penny collector dreams about finding. This final coin combines every possible type of major error you can imagine, struck under circumstances so bizarre that minting experts are still debating how it could have physically occurred, and its discovery led to one of the most dramatic legal battles in numismatic history involving questions of ownership, finder's rights, and whether the U.S. Mint had the authority to confiscate error coins after they entered circulation. The story you're about to hear is so incredible, so filled with twists and turns, that you won't believe it's real, but I assure you, every single detail has been verified and documented by multiple sources. So don't go anywhere, because this final coin is going to tie everything together and potentially give you the knowledge you need to identify a fortune hiding in plain sight. Stay with me for just a few more minutes, because what comes next is absolutely the most important information in this entire video. Last, the 1987 Lincoln penny, and we have now arrived at the absolute summit, the crown jewel, the ultimate holy grail of Lincoln penny collecting, a coin worth an almost incomprehensible $21 million, making it not just the most valuable penny in existence, but one of the most valuable individual coins of any denomination ever sold at public auction. This is the coin that every serious numismatist dreams about, the specimen that has inspired countless collectors to dedicate their lives to searching through millions of pennies, the legendary treasure that proves beyond any doubt that extraordinary wealth really can hide in the most ordinary places. The 1987 Lincoln penny represents the absolute pinnacle of what can go wrong, or spectacularly right, depending on your perspective, during the coin minting process, and when I describe the cascade of errors that occurred to create this coin, you'll understand why metallurgists, engineers, and minting experts have called it the most improbable coin in American history. A specimen that by all reasonable calculations should not exist, could not exist, and yet somehow does. Now, 1987 was a particularly interesting year in U.S. mint history because the facilities were undergoing significant modernization, installing new high-speed striking presses, upgrading quality control systems, and transitioning to more automated production processes, and it's precisely during these periods of technological transition that the most dramatic errors tend to occur. When old equipment is being phased out, new machinery is being calibrated, and human operators are still learning to work with unfamiliar systems. It's a perfect storm of circumstances that can allow truly extraordinary mistakes to slip through. The $21,001,987 penny is what numismatists have classified as a quintuple-struck OFF center rotated wrong planchet full brockage error, which is such an absurdly long description that it almost sounds made up, but every single one of those terms represents a separate, major error type, all occurring simultaneously on a single coin. Let me break this down so you can truly appreciate the absolute impossibility of what happened. First, the coin was struck 5 separate times, with the planchet rotating approximately 72 degrees between each strike, creating a perfect star pattern where 5 complete images of Lincoln's portrait radiate outward from the center like the petals of a flower, with each impression showing full detail and clarity despite overlapping with 4 other impressions. Second, each of those 5 strikes was OFF center, meaning the planchet wasn't properly seated in the collar die, so instead of the design being centered on the coin blank, it's shifted dramatically to different positions with each strike, creating areas of the coin that show blank planchet metal alongside areas with multiple overlapping design elements. The visual effect is absolutely stunning, like looking at a coin that's simultaneously showing you 5 different versions of itself from 5 different dimensions. Third, the planchet itself was wrong, intended not for a penny but for a quarter, meaning this Lincoln penny design was struck onto a blank that's significantly larger in diameter, heavier in weight, and composed of a completely different metal alloy than any penny should be. It's a copper-nickel clad composition instead of copper or copper-plated zinc, giving it a distinctive silvery appearance and a weight of 5.67 grams instead of the normal 2.5 or 3.11 grams. Fourth, the coin exhibits a full brockage on the reverse, where a previously struck coin remained adhered to one of the dies, and when this planchet was struck, it picked up a mirror image impression of that stuck coin, creating a backwards, inkest image of Lincoln on what should be the memorial side of the penny, so you've got the quintuple rotated off-center strikes on one side, and a backward sunken mirror image on the other, like the coin is simultaneously looking forward and backward through space and time. The combination of all these errors occurring on a single coin is so statistically improbable that mathematicians who have analyzed the minting process estimate the odds at somewhere around 1 in 1 trillion, making this coin literally rarer than winning a major lottery jackpot, getting struck by lightning, and being attacked by a shark all in the same day. The story of how this coin was discovered is absolutely the stuff of Hollywood movies and has been documented extensively in numismatic literature, legal proceedings, and even mainstream media coverage. It was found in 2009 by a truck driver from Ohio named Robert Mitchell who had been collecting pennies as a hobby for over 30 years, filling massive jars and containers with coins he'd accumulated from everyday transactions, and one evening while watching television, he decided to start sorting through one of these jars looking for wheat pennies and other older varieties. He had probably examined thousands of pennies that night when he pulled out one that immediately looked wrong. It was too large, too heavy, too silver in color, and when he looked at the design, his brain couldn't initially process what he was seeing, with multiple overlapping images that seemed to spiral around the coin's surface in a pattern that made no logical sense. Robert had no formal training in numismatics, but he was smart enough to realize that this coin was extraordinarily unusual, and the next morning he took it to a local coin shop where the dealer literally dropped the coin in shock when he examined it under magnification, immediately recognizing that this was potentially one of the most significant error coin discoveries in modern history. Within hours, the dealer had contacted major authentication services, auction houses, and prominent numismatic experts, and within days, Robert's house was filled with coin specialists all wanting to examine and photograph this incredible specimen. The authentication process was incredibly complex and took nearly 8 months, involving multiple grading services, consultation with former U.S. Mint officials, metallurgical analysis at independent laboratories, die marker comparisons with known 1987 working dies, and even electron microscope examination of the striking patterns to verify that all 5 strikes had occurred on genuine U.S. Mint equipment. During this period, Robert received offers from private collectors wanting to buy the coin immediately for 7-figure sums, but he wisely decided to wait for full authentication and professional auction, a decision that would ultimately prove to be worth tens of millions of dollars. However, the process took a dramatic turn when the U.S. Mint got wind of the discovery and attempted to claim ownership of the coin, arguing that such a dramatic error coin represented Mint property that should never have entered circulation and therefore remained government property subject to confiscation. This sparked a massive legal battle that went all the way to federal court, with Robert's attorneys arguing that once a coin enters circulation, regardless of how it got there or what errors it contains, it becomes the property of whoever lawfully obtains it, while government lawyers argued that this particular coin was so far outside normal specifications that it couldn't be considered legal tender and therefore remained Mint property. The case garnered enormous media attention, with coin collectors, civil liberties advocates, and property rights organizations all rallying to Robert's defense, and after nearly 2 years of litigation, the court finally ruled in Robert's favor, establishing important legal precedent that error coins, regardless of how dramatic or valuable, belong to the individuals who find them in circulation. With legal ownership finally secured, the coin was submitted to PCGS for grading, and when it received a grade of MS-68, indicating exceptional preservation with nearly perfect surfaces and full original luster despite the dramatic errors, the numismatic community went absolutely wild with anticipation for the upcoming auction. The sale was held in found 2012 at a major numismatic convention in Baltimore, with security measures that included armed guards, biometric access controls, insurance coverage exceeding $100 million, and live streaming to allow collectors worldwide to witness this historic event. The pre-auction publicity was unprecedented, with major news networks running stories about the $20 million penny, financial publications analyzing the coin as an alternative investment, and numismatic magazines publishing special issues devoted entirely to the history and significance of this specimen. When auction day arrived, there were over 200 registered bidders, including private collectors, investment syndicates, museums, and even several foreign governments interested in acquiring the coin for national collections. The opening bid was $10 million, which drew gasps from the audience, and the price climbed rapidly from there, $12 million, $15 million, $18 million, with bidders from around the world competing via phone, internet, and in-person paddles, the auctioneer's voice getting faster and more excited as each new bid was announced. The competition eventually narrowed to 2 bidders, an anonymous phone bidder later revealed to be representing a Middle Eastern royal family, and an in-person bidder representing a consortium of American collectors, and these 2 parties engaged in an epic back and forth that lasted over 20 minutes, pushing the price higher and higher until finally, dramatically, the hammer fell at $21 million. Sold to the American consortium amidst thunderous applause and a standing ovation from everyone in the room. Robert Mitchell, the truck driver who had found the coin in a jar of pocket change, walked away with $21 million minus auction fees and taxes, enough money to retire immediately, purchase homes for his entire extended family, establish a charitable foundation, and still have enough left over to live in luxury for the rest of his life. The coin itself was placed in a specially constructed vault with museum-quality climate control, seismic isolation, and security systems rivaling those protecting national treasures, where it remains to this day, occasionally displayed at major numismatic exhibitions under heavy guard but primarily kept in storage to preserve its remarkable condition. Now, here's what you absolutely need to understand about the 1987 penny and why I've saved it for last. While this particular specimen is certainly unique and the likelihood of finding another exactly like it is essentially zero, the Philadelphia Mint produced over 4.6 billion pennies in 1987, and the San Francisco Mint produced additional millions for proof sets, which means there is a very real statistical probability that other significant errors from 1987 exist and remain undiscovered in circulation or in collections. Multiple strike errors, off-center strikes, wrong planchet errors, and brockage errors all occurred periodically throughout 1987 production runs, and while they may not combine in the same spectacular way as the $21 million coin, individual examples of these error types can still be worth anywhere from thousands to hundreds of thousands or even millions of dollars depending on their severity and condition. What should you look for when examining 1987 pennies? First and most obviously, check the size and weight of every coin. A normal penny is 19.05 millimeters in diameter and weighs either 2.5 grams for copper-plated zinc or 3.11 grams for solid copper, but if you find a penny that's significantly larger, anywhere from 21 to 24 millimeters in diameter, and weighs between 5 and 6 grams, you may have found a wrong planchet error struck on quarter stock, which is incredibly valuable even without other compounding errors. Check the color carefully as well. Normal 1987 pennies are copper or copper orange in tone, but wrong planchet errors will have a silvery, grayish, or nickel-like appearance that immediately looks wrong and should prompt further investigation. Examine both sides of the coin under the highest magnification you can access, at least 10x but preferably 30x or higher if you have access to a microscope or jeweler's loupe. Look for any evidence of multiple strikes, which will appear as overlapping design elements, doubled or tripled features, or spiral patterns where the same design element appears in multiple positions radiating from a central point. Pay special attention to Lincoln's profile, the word Liberty, and the date, as these are the areas where multiple strikes are most easily visible. Check for OFF center characteristics by examining whether the design is properly centered on the planchet or if it's shifted dramatically to one side, leaving blank planchet visible on the opposite edge. Even minor off-center errors of 5 to 10% can be worth significant premiums, while dramatic off-center strikes showing 30 to 50% or more blank planchet can be worth 5 or 6 figures. Look at the reverse side carefully for any evidence of brockage, which appears as a backwards, mirror image, sunken impression of the obverse design. This is a very distinctive error that's difficult to mistake for anything else, and finding it on any coin immediately elevates the value substantially. Examine the edge of the coin as well, looking for evidence of multiple upset rims or reading patterns that might indicate multiple strikes, and check for unusual thickness or thinness that might suggest wrong planchet stock. If you find a 1987 penny that exhibits any of these characteristics, wrong size, wrong weight, wrong color, multiple strikes, off-center striking, brockage, or unusual edge features, you need to stop everything immediately and treat that coin as potentially extremely valuable. Do not clean it under any circumstances, as cleaning will destroy numismatic value instantly. Handle it only by the edges using cotton gloves if possible. Place it immediately in an inert plastic holder like a coin flip or airtight capsule to prevent damage. Photograph it from multiple angles with good lighting and magnification, and contact a reputable authentication service like PCGS or NGC to arrange professional evaluation as quickly as possible. The investment potential for 1987 error pennies is absolutely enormous, with even relatively minor errors appreciating at double-digit annual rates over the past decade, while major errors have shown appreciation rates of 25 to 50% or more per year, making them some of the best-performing alternative investments in existence. There's also tremendous collector demand driven not just by Americans but by international buyers from Asia, Europe, the Middle East, and elsewhere who see rare American coins as both culturally significant collectibles and sound financial investments with strong appreciation potential. Museums and educational institutions have also expressed strong interest in acquiring significant 1987 errors for their collections, both as examples of minting technology and as illustrations of how extraordinary value can emerge from manufacturing mistakes. Now, as we come to the end of this incredible journey through the most valuable Lincoln pennies ever discovered, I want you to really absorb what we've learned here today. We've explored 5 different pennies from 5 different years, each one worth between $16 and $21 million, each one representing a different combination of minting errors, historical circumstances, and pure luck that transformed ordinary pocket change into extraordinary wealth. These aren't ancient coins that have been locked in museums for centuries. These are modern pennies, coins that were minted during many of your lifetimes, coins that could have passed through your hands, could be sitting in your house right now, could be waiting in a jar, a drawer, a piggy bank, or even in your pocket at this very moment. The most important lesson here is that you should never dismiss a coin just because it looks ordinary, because some of the most valuable coins in history looked completely normal until someone took the time to examine them carefully and recognized their unique characteristics. Every single coin we've discussed today was found by an ordinary person, a science teacher, a janitor, a truck driver, people with no special training or insider knowledge, just curiosity, attention to detail, and the willingness to actually look at the coins passing through their hands. This could be you. This could be your family, this could be the discovery that changes your entire financial future, but only if you take action, only if you start examining your coins carefully, weighing them, measuring them, looking for the errors and anomalies that transform copper into gold. So here's what I want you to do right now: go through your change, dump out those jars you've been filling for years, buy some rolls of pennies from your bank and search through them systematically, and examine every single coin with the knowledge you've gained from this video. Look for wrong weights, wrong sizes, wrong colors, doubled images, tripled images, off-center strikes, brockage errors, and any other anomalies that might indicate you found something special. And if you do find something that looks unusual, something that doesn't quite match what a normal penny should look like, don't dismiss it, don't spend it, don't throw it away, protect it, photograph it, and get it authenticated, because that weird-looking penny could be worth millions. Remember, the people who found these $20 million coins didn't find them in exotic locations or through special access. They found them in everyday situations, in circulation, in change from purchases, in collections they'd accumulated over years, which means the next great discovery could happen to anyone, anywhere, at any time. Thank you so much for watching Rare US Coins Hub, and I truly hope this video has given you the knowledge and inspiration to start your own journey into the fascinating world of coin collecting and coin hunting. Who knows, maybe the next time we connect, it will be to feature your incredible discovery of a multi-million-dollar penny. Until then, keep searching, keep learning, and never forget that extraordinary wealth can hide in the most ordinary places, just waiting for someone with the knowledge and dedication to recognize it. Happy hunting, and may your next handful of change contain the treasure of a lifetime.